folks, today's Friday, March 6, 2020. Coming up at Roland Martin Unfiltered. Ooh, Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer is in all kinds of hot water over his comments in terms of going after Supreme Court justices. Y'all remember when he went after Congresswoman Maxine Waters and Speaker Pelosi, putting her on blast? We'll chat with Congresswoman Waters about the hot water that Schumer is in. All right, folks, Nate Woods put to death last night in Alabama. Clarence Thomas issued a stay, and the Supreme Court lifted that stay. Alabama kills an innocent man for the death of 3 police officers. We give the latest. Also, Bernie Sanders is trying to drum up support from older voters with a little help from Cornel West. We'll show you their latest campaign ad. And also, crazy-ass Trump is trying to downplay the coronavirus by saying that the stock market doesn't reflect his calm. It's lost 4,000 points in 2 years. All gains wiped out. Y'all know his ass still lying. And also, what's up? Drama between Sanders campaign co-chair Nina Turney and Democratic Biden supporter Hilary Rosen? Yeah, we'll tell you what happened and why I had to go ahead and correct the white woman when it came to MLK. Please, if you're going to go quote Dr. King, quote him for real. Also, Chicago man is shot twice by police for walking between trains. Chicago still being Chicago. And Chicago Congressman Bobby Rush says, I got thrown off the House floor for wearing a hoodie. So why is Florida Congressman Matt Gaetz sitting there with a mask on? It's time to bring the funk. Roland Martin Unfiltered. Let's go.
He's got it. Whatever the miss, he's on it. Whatever it is, he's got the scoop, the fact, the fine. And when it breaks, he's right on time and it's rolling. Best believe he's knowing. Putting it down from sports to news to politics. With entertainment just for kicks, he's rolling. It's on go, roll, y'all. It's Roland Martin, rolling with Roland now. He's funk, he's fresh, he's real, the best, you know he's Roland Martin now. Martin.
All right, y'all, karma's a bitch. Remember Senator Chuck Schumer when he criticized Congresswoman Maxine Waters for her comments criticizing Donald Trump, and him and Pelosi were attacking her and all this sort of different stuff? Well, Schumer now has some issues after what he said regarding 2 Supreme Court justices at a pro-choice rally. Henry, go to my iPad.
Taking away fundamental rights. I want to tell you, Gorsuch, I want to tell you, Kavanaugh, you have released the whirlwind, and you will pay the price.
Pay the price. Well, Republicans have not been too happy. Donald Trump has said that he should pay the price for those comments. Here's Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell criticizing Schumer on the floor of the Senate. Play.
To boo 2 of the associate justices, as though Supreme Court justices were professional athletes, and Senator Schumer were jeering from the stands. And then the senior senator from New York said this: I want to tell you, Gorsuch, I want to tell you, Kavanaugh, you've released the whirlwind, and you will pay the price. You won't know what hit you if you go forward with these awful decisions. End quote. Madam President, I'm not sure where to start.
Well, let's start with Congresswoman Maxine Waters, who joins us right now on the phone lines. Congresswoman, boy, they made you go through hell when you criticized Trump.
Oh, yes. Well, thank you very much. And I appreciate Schumer's advocacy and standing up for women. However, he has to understand, when I stood up and I resisted this administration, and I talked about not welcoming them in any of these places, that they should have understood what I was doing, and they should have been supporting me. They didn't support me, and now Schumer has got to understand what it feels like for him to be an advocate and be criticized and be told that he should not have said what he said. He should not have had the tone that he had. And, of course, that's what they were saying about me. And instead of joining them, he should have been supporting me. But he was right on the advocacy issue in standing up for women.
But what does it also say that, again, they chose to chastise you, but now they want support and cover when he now is catching hell?
Well, no, I mean, you described it accurately. And that is, he forgets what he said about me. He even went so far as to say un-American. I was shocked and I was surprised. But I think now he must understand that perhaps he went way too far in criticizing me, and that now he's on the ropes because he criticized two of the members of the United States Supreme Court, and now they are attacking him in the way that he attacked me.
And yeah, I mean, he went out there and he said, you know, don't harass political opponents, and so he goes on the floor and he's taking you to task, and in fact, even tried to suggest that you were inciting violence with your comments. And that is what also angered a lot of people when he did that, sort of this upbraiding. In fact, do this for me, guys. We're going to go to this. I want to pull this video up because, again, he said it, and I'm trying to understand, doesn't he understand that these things, what goes around comes around?
Yeah, and you broke up a little bit, except to say that there were a lot of people who came forward, and a lot of black women in particular, and they went so far as to meet with Nancy Pelosi to say, what are you guys doing? How is it that Maxine Waters is standing up for, democratic principles and calling out this administration, taking on the leadership to talk about why this president should be impeached, and you are basically attacking her or undermining her in her advocacy? People didn't understand that, but I think now Schumer perhaps gets it. He understands it because now he's in a position where he is being an advocate for women, which we all support, and he would never think that he would be attacked for having done that in the way that he did it to me.
And of course, a lot of people out there may not remember what took place on the floor of the U.S. House. But folks, Henry, go to my iPad.
Finally, Mr. President, a word on a different subject. Here in the Senate, we disagree with one another frequently and often fervently. I certainly do. Many of us disagree with the policies of the current administration. In a country as large and diverse as ours, politics has always been a noisy, raucous affair, probably even more so today. That's okay. But we all have to remember to treat our fellow Americans, all of our fellow Americans, with the kind of civility and respect we expect will be afforded to us. I strongly disagree with those who advocate harassing folks if they don't agree with you. If you disagree with someone or something, stand up, make your voice heard. Explain why you think they're wrong and why you're right. Make the argument. Protest peacefully. If you disagree with a politician, organize your fellow citizens to action and vote them out of office. But no one should call for the harassment of political opponents.
Congresswoman, there are a lot of African Americans who don't like the double standard when you, Congressman Al Green, when Congresswoman Rashida Tlaib, Congresswoman Ilhan Omar, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Congresswoman from New York, when you see all of these people of color, black folks, Latinos, who are always being criticized and chastised by white Democratic leaders, they need to realize what happens when the shoe's on the other foot.
It is so obvious. I mean, it really does not take a Harvard scholar to understand the double standard. And so if Schumer takes a look at the words that he made about me and me being, I think he referenced un-American, and now understand that he basically was following the kind of leadership that I was given in resisting this administration, resisting a Supreme Court where you have members of the Supreme Court who obviously are puppets of the President of the United States. If he doesn't understand that what he's trying to say is basically what I was saying all along and what I was leading on all along. And now he's under attack the way that he attacked me. Then if he doesn't get that, he really doesn't understand the fact that we should all be together in supporting each other. Because I did not threaten anybody. I simply said you're not welcome. And now they're saying he's threatening members of the Supreme Court. And so what does he expect in the way of support for him when he didn't give it to me?
Well, Congresswoman Waters, you're always welcome on this show, so call anytime. We'd love having you on.
Thank you so much. Love you, Roland. Thank you.
I appreciate
Bye-bye.
it. Thanks a lot. All right, folks, we'll go to our panel. Quadricos Driscoll, adjunct professor at the George Washington University, Dr. Niambe Carter, Department of Political Science, Howard University, and Mustafa Santiago Ali, former senior advisor for environmental justice at the EPA. Boy, ain't it interesting when white folks get in trouble?
This is Chuck Schumer. He's a peacetime Democrat. He's not an advocate. He's not a fighter. He's already walked back these comments, and nobody really believed these folks were in danger. I mean, Chief Justice Roberts claimed that this is dangerous. I mean, it's insincere. I mean, Brett Kavanaugh basically said the same thing to Democrats during his confirmation hearings, and there was no uproar about any of this. Our own president said that, you know, attempting to impeach him would be the equivalent of a civil war, right, that would happen. So this kind of language happens all the time, but I think Congresswoman Waters hit on something. It doesn't feel good when the shoe is on the other foot, because the same people that you condemn, like her, who could be there to support you, you told them that what they were doing in being advocates for their community were essentially outside of the purview of their job.
So, Tiago, the point that I made to Congresswoman is that there's this constant putting black and brown folks in check. Mm-hmm. And now all of a sudden, when Republicans are kicking his ass, now he wants black and brown cover.
Exactly. You know, privilege is an interesting animal because when people of color speak out, we get vilified in many, many instances. And when others do it, it's seen as, you know, just politics or, you know, the way that the process works. And then when you go against the Supreme Court, we all know that the Republicans see the Supreme Court as theirs, as this holy institution. So you're definitely going to catch some flack when you do that.
So I agree with all the comments that have been made, but looking at in the political context, right, I think we saw this with Howard Dean in, I think, 2004 when he sort of made whatever outrageous comments that he did. Certainly we see...
What did he say?
He was like, nah, that. And
No,
the criticism that came,
But
the
actually,
result that came as a result of
But that was also stupid because it was a rally,
Yes.
and he was simply firing the crowd up, and that was in 2000. That was in 2004.
But my point
that
is,
was pre-social
the same
media.
level of emotion and excitement, both on the Republican side as well as the Democratic side, we see this play out. And I think we're seeing the politics of it play out now that it's Schumer, who is the minority leader, and his comments. So I think it basically boils down to this is ridiculous political theater. I think the difference is, however, is that the Democrats always infight, Republicans fall in line. And I think to Congresswoman Waters' point, the Democrats need to actually fall in line and coalesce around the issues and stop Trump in November.
But I think the thing of the part of this, though, is attacking the Supreme Court is the only thing you really can do, right? They can't be unelected. Right? They're not elected at all. They're there for a lifetime. So this is really the only avenue to advocate with that body.
But if Democrats actually do what Republicans do, which is focus on the judiciary, because that's something they don't do.
No, absolutely.
Well, first of all, the Supreme Court is not beyond criticism.
No, I didn't say that, but I'm just saying focus on the judiciary.
Well, yeah, but you can also do both at the same time.
Right.
I mean, you got Donald Trump criticizing Ruth Bader Ginsburg, criticizing Elena Kagan, criticizing Sonia Sotomayor, and so my whole deal is kiss my ass, shut the hell up.
Agreed. But again, if we're going to talk about elections or we're going to talk about winning, one thing that Republicans do, and they do very well, is they frame issues, right?
But that's also why he said we're coming after you,
right?
Because he was talking about
if we could just take that down the ballot and focus on making sure that we elect certain people who agree with our interests and making sure that we stack the judiciary just like the Republicans are stacking the judiciary, the better, as well as criticize.
Bottom line here is black and brown folks who get criticized and put in place by white Democratic leaders then want those same people to cover their behinds. That, for me, is really what this issue is about, and that's why Congresswoman Maxine Waters is saying, see? See what happens when it happens to you? And so I'm sure Chuck Schumer's eating some crow as a result. All right, folks, we talk about, of course, what happens. Last night on CNN, Lord have mercy, Nina Turner, of course, who's the co-chair of Bernie Sanders' campaign, got into this huge back and forth with Hilary Rosen, who is, of course, Hilary is with, she's a Biden supporter. And, they were talking about the whole, the race and going back and forth, but what really made this thing get out of line was when they began to talk about Dr. King and letter from Birmingham jail. And let's just say Hilary had some serious issues, and then Nina clapped back real quick. Matter of fact, let me see. I just want to find the right video. I was going to explain it, but let me just show y'all what happened because it was pretty wild. Henry, go.
Nina referenced Dr. Martin Luther King before, saying that he said from the Birmingham jail that we should be concerned about white moderates. That's actually not what Martin Luther King said. What he said is we should be worried about the silence of white moderates.
Are you kidding me?
Nina, wait.
No, she's making a language point.
What he said was we should worry about the silence of white moderates. And what we have in Joe Biden is a man who is not silent. He has a long record, and many votes that in today's world feel like the wrong thing were the wrong thing, and he has discussed that over and over again, as Bernie Sanders did on the gun votes and other things. So we can be talking about votes from 20 years ago, or we can be talking about people's values and who they trust.
Last quick point.
That's what Joe Biden's going to be talking
Last
about.
quick point to you, Nina.
What Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was talking about, he said, it is the point that the white moderate wants things to be comfortable, and instead of focusing in on that, the bigger threat is not necessarily the white KKK member, but more the white moderate that is more comfortable with keeping things the same and pretending like there is no tension.
Don't use Martin Luther King against Joe Biden. You don't have that. You don't have that standing.
First of all,
I'm sorry, you don't.
Don't tell me what kind of standing I have as a black woman in America. How dare you?
You have a lot of standing as a black woman in America. You don't have the standing to attack Joe Biden using Martin Luther King's words.
I didn't attack anybody. You're taking it that way. Listen, don't dip into what I have to say about the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. How dare you, as a white woman,
I'm not
sit up here and try to tell me,
that is not what I said.
To tell me
don't you do that.
Nina,
what I'm supposed
Hilary,
to feel and what I'm doing right now.
I'm out of time on this.
That's something. Chris, I didn't jump in on her,
Nina,
though. And then she wants to jump in on me.
Okay. First of all, it's not nobody's jumping in on anybody. You guys are in the same party. This is what you guys have to figure out. You're in the same party. And let me tell you, you better keep that same energy when you're up against Trump that you have against each other, because he is bigger and badder than I think you guys are ready for. But let's agree on this about Dr. King. Only light can drive out dark.
First of all, really, Chris, I can't. I love it how we always looking for this consummate Dr. King quote to wrap everything up. So here's what happened, y'all. Henry, go to my iPad. Hilary, this morning, after she got her ass lit up on social media, I'm talking about lit up, she tweeted, "I'm horrified that anyone would think I would call Nina Turner an angry black woman. I would never. After the TV hit last night, I was getting tons of ugly messages to keep fighting her using that phrase. I was trying to tell people to stop because I knew I needed to apologize. I unequivocally know I disrespected her, and I wanted to make it right by telling disgusted white folks to stop. Wow, did that tweet go wrong? I am so sorry. I've called Nina to apologize directly. Whether or not she takes my call, I am still humbly sorry." Now, last night, I saw the exchange, and I text Nina, and I was like, wow, that was interesting. I said, see, now Hilary gonna make me go out and get and actually on the counter in my kitchen, I actually had my copies of Why We Can't Wait, as well as Dr. King's book, Chaos or Community, Where Do We Go From Here? And so what I did last night was pull that up, and what's interesting is that the letter from a Birmingham jail, folks, was about nearly 7,000 words. 7,000 words. Silence was used one time. King said the silence of good people. 7 or 8 times in that speech, he was very specific about the white moderate. In fact, if you read King's book, Chaos or Community, Where Do We Go From Here, you will see that there are a number of passages in that book where he talks about the white moderate, who they sided with, who they were with. Now, part of the issue here is that you have a Hilary Rosen, who is white, who's like, I dare you call Joe Biden, this white moderate. But here's the deal, though, that Hilary Rosen has to understand. If you go back and early in Joe Biden's career, that's exactly what he was. Joe Biden was one of the people who gave comfort to segregationists, who aligned with the likes of Strom Thurmond and Jim Eastland in the United States Senate, okay, who fought busing as well. If you read Bob Brown's book, he talked about how Nixon quietly ushered in busing to avoid some of the drama that was taking place. And so history is history. Now, just because Joe Biden, you say today, is different than Joe Biden in the early 1970s, it doesn't negate who the Joe Biden was in the early 1970s. The other thing is this here, and y'all have heard me say this, I really need white people to, if you're going to quote Dr. King, stop trying to quote Dr. King in a way that fits your narrative and deal with the radical Dr. King that we all knew he was. See, that's part of the problem that I think you see here with a lot of people who go through this. What they do is that they want to find this one little quote. Dr. King said this, versus looking at in totality what he said. King wrote in Chaos or Community that whites were far more comfortable aligning with segregationists after the Black Freedom Movement than they were with freedom for Black folks. He talked about in that particular book, which I say to y'all, every person should have a copy of that book on their shelf. It's a phenomenal book because he lays out in that book how the white moderate did not truly understand the history of racism and white supremacy in this country. And then he even said that they were not prepared to even deal with that particular history. That's what happens all too often when all these conversations take place, because you got folks who really don't want to look at that expansive Dr. King. In fact, this is what I wrote. MLK wrote in Chaos or Community, Negroes were heated, especially the fact that many whites felt that the Negroes had gained so much. That was one. This is a King quote. White Americans left the Negro on the ground and in devastating numbers walked off with the aggressor. It appeared that the white segregationists and the ordinary white citizen had more in common with one another than either had with the Negro. He also wrote, he said in here again, as he went through this whole deal, he said that we will have to repent in this generation, not merely for the hateful words and actions of the bad people, but for the appalling silence of the good people. That's where he used the word silence in a letter from Birmingham jail. Then he also said, again, on 7 different occasions, he talked about white moderates. And so this continues to happen all the time, which is why I hate when MLK birthday come up, when people stand there. Dr. King wanted us to all get along and wanted us to hold hands and wanted us to love one another. He was a man of peace and no. He was a radical voice who called out white moderates specifically for their inability to confront their white supremacy and their white privilege. That, Mustafa, is what, as I was watching that, and which is why Hilary had to backtrack, because Black women were all in her ass after that exchange.
Nina's a force, and Hilary should have known better than to even go there. And, for me, there was a phone call that probably happened last night from the vice president saying, you know what, I got traction right now with Black folks.
Shut the hell up.
And you messing it up. And that's it. And Dr. King was a revolutionary. If you remember, the early church leaders did not want to get down because his ideas and his actions were so revolutionary.
Roy Wilkins, head of the NAACP, called Dr. King a radical in 1959.
Exactly. So, for folks, and here, let's just have some real talk. We know that moderate policies have been devastating to our communities because they don't move the needle. And that's why you have to have revolutionaries who are willing and able to push to make real change actually happen. And that's the reason that progressives scare folks so much also.
And in Chaos or Community, Dr. King talked about very few white voices who were willing to go all the way when it came to the issue of Black freedom. And what happens here, and again, first of all, when you tell a Black woman she don't have the standing, Black people take MLK real personal when somebody white tells them that.
Well, I mean, Hilary Rosen did what white women often do to women of color, which is be quiet, right? Don't make us uncomfortable and don't say anything we don't like. But what I really want us to get back to is this isn't just about misquoting Martin Luther King and picking and choosing the pieces. Even Bernie Sanders, in calling for Hilary Rosen and Joe Biden to rebuke this, couldn't say anti-black racism, couldn't say black people. He said this is offensive to Nina Turner and people of color. And I think that's a problem, because even for the white progressive, you can't just say what it is. There was a problem with this white woman telling this black woman that she could not claim this black man and his words in talking about what she sees as her vision for her politics going forward. And you can't even say that as the candidate she was defending. I think it's really rich that you have two women sort of battling it out and using this black man to talk about two white men who will ultimately assume the office. I think that is actually even a perversion of Martin Luther King to a certain extent. But I think it's a real moment, right, where we see how whiteness, even in all of its liberalness, its progressiveness, still can't really deal with anti-blackness in any real way.
And Quadricos, the reality is this here, and this is where, for African Americans, when you talk about this return on investment, it's real clear, bruh. You're not where you are without black people. Right. It's just like there were some people who they were like, Roland, you're too aggressive with Obama. I said, I'm sorry, this is called a return on investment. That's what happens. And so, absolutely, Joe Biden, like I said already, Joe Biden wins. First and foremost, he should say, all right, when I'm being made Speaker of the House. I mean, because the bottom line is, it's a return on investment. And I think what happens all the time, man, is that there's this sort of attitude like, thank you very much, but now we're going to take it from here. It's like, no, we have to push the white moderate to become a white radical on these issues.
Right. We have to continue to push, unfortunately, white people in general to understand these issues. But you're absolutely right. I mean, the first thing that Biden needs to do, assuming that he will be the nominee, right, is appoint a black woman as his vice president, take care of his promise of supporting a black woman on the Supreme Court, and quite possibly position James Clyburn in a higher position in the House. I mean, he owes his candidacy at present to black people, particularly black women.
That created position
right.
to allow him to be in the leadership, because we all know that actually there are three positions, and that is the Speaker of the House, right. that is the House Majority Leader, and that's the whip.
And that's the whip.
And that's the reality.
Exactly.
And so, again, so when you saw this whole back and forth, you have this whole effort where, okay, we got to protect Biden or protect Sanders. Like, no. We can have an honest conversation about who they are. We can have an honest conversation about language that they use and not be afraid to say, I need you to stop
but that's just the
using
problem.
such language.
White people can't have such honest conversations, right? Because in many respects, it's white guilt, it's their white privilege, and whatever else that they're sort of suffering with. And so we have to continue to push the mark, unfortunately. But I've been saying this for quite some time. We really need allies. And unfortunately, we don't have the same level of allies because of this contentious issue of race in our country that, say, the gay community had, which is why they're sort of certainly more mainstream. I mean, we're still arguing for equalization of blackness and for normalization of blackness. And it's quite sad that in 2020 that we're still having this sort of conversation, but we have to be the moral exemplars like King to continue to push our leaders and to ensure that there's equity across the board. Fundamentally, we need to trust black women on these issues.
I think, well, first of all, here's the deal. We got to trust black women and black men. No, and the reason I say black women and black men, because guess what? When Doug Jones ran in Alabama, he got 96% of the black female vote.
Right.
And he got 93% of the black male vote. The deal is it's very simple. In this country, white America has always needed to be made to feel comfortable when we talk about race. We have to qualify, back it up, hold up, let me sort of fashion it this way, as opposed to say, no. And that's why, look, understand, I dealt with that. I remember, I remember we were, I was filling in for Campbell Brown at CNN, and we were discussing a story to do. And what happens is when I'm processing, when I'm actually visualizing, going through, I'll sit there and I'll cross my arms and I'm looking off at a spot and I'm thinking. Now I'm not smiling and everything. I'm just sitting and I'm like, but I'm thinking. So I get called into the office And so it was 2 white male producers. And they go, you know, that was a little uncomfortable. I said, oh, no. We are not about to have a thinking while black conversation. I said, no, that's not about to happen. And so I would often challenge their whiteness in their face, and they had a problem with that. I remember another white executive, who was an executive producer, told me that, you know what, I think you really need to step back and realize the opportunity that you've been given. And it was a very paternalistic conversation. And I said, Scott, let me explain something to you. I got 5 revenue streams, and y'all are number 3. Meaning there are 2 that are higher than you. I said, now, if this ends, I got 4 more. I said, and I had an interview with Darryl Strawberry that they wouldn't run. I said, fine, I'm gonna run on my show. And it was kind of like, I'm like, yes, that's why I have my other show on TV One. And it was this whole deal of like, well, hold up. He's making decisions, and he's actually rebuffing, and he's not being appreciative of what we're providing. And I told him, I said, I've run 3 black newspapers. I said, CNN is not better than places I've run. And so I was willing to challenge whiteness. And then other black people at CNN who were like, yeah, Roland too radical. And there were black people who would say, yeah, but you benefiting from Roland's radicalness because he's in there swinging on these white folks, and you quiet, but you gonna benefit from how he's swinging. And the deal is, too many of us are afraid in those spaces. I don't want to upset nothing. And it was like, look, I'm going to get fired anyway. So that's just how I start every job anyway.
But I mean, look at Chris Como, though, right? He was going to tell Nina what Hilary Rosen was trying to tell her. But it's like,
right.
I can hear.
And she's like, I just heard what
she said. And I know what he said. I know what I was quoting. I knew the conversation. And I think that's the stuff that happens. That's what's really angering. We can bicker back and forth, but you're going to tell me. And then you have this white man who still feels the need to defend, right? When you have 2 very capable women having clearly a disagreement, and then, it can get boisterous, but she was saying what she needed to say.
And what Chris should have done was say, Hilary,
right, stop.
Allow Nina to finish.
Exactly.
Nina, when you finish your point, Hilary, y'all go ahead.
And it was her last point, right? She had the last word, and she still got cut off and didn't get to say what she wanted to say.
We have to realize how powerful we truly are. You see, we still keep operating from this 18th century, 19th century sort of mindset. And we need to reclaim who we are, because we are going to be the majority. Black and brown people are going to be the majority in this country. So going back to what we talked about before, the 3 positions you all talked about, but we should be making demands. So there are a number of folks who are going to be in these departments and in these agencies. So we need to start framing out who are the folks who are going to sit in these positions of power.
That's it. So don't be afraid to be black. That's all I'm saying. Don't be afraid to be black. And that's important for so many of us. All right, folks, coronavirus is, how huge is this? South by Southwest, they canceled the entire festival as a result of so many advertisers dropping out due to the coronavirus. And so there's all kind of stuff out there. Donald Trump, he don't know what the hell he's talking about how he afraid to touch his face. We got video of him touching his face. But right now, family medicine physician Dr. Jen Cardle joins us right now. And Doc, how you doing? So can you explain to us really what the hell this virus is? Can we shake hands? Can we fist bump? Can we hug people? I mean, I swear, the whole nation, the world got the cooties.
Well, actually, Roland, to be honest with you, this is actually a very serious situation.
Right.
I think a lot of people were calling it a hoax in the beginning and saying, is this a conspiracy by the government, by different organizations? It is not. First thing I want to say is this is very, very real. And to your point, it's an infectious virus. This is a virus that we hadn't seen before. We're seeing it now. It's a virus that typically lived in animals, and now we've seen it kind of transfer to humans. We have never seen this in us, in humans before. That's why we keep calling it the novel coronavirus. It's also one of the reasons why there's a lot we just don't know. And if it seems like every single day on the news, we're hearing new things, we're shocked every single day we wake up, we're being surprised, it's because it's actually very genuine. We don't know much about how this virus behaves. However, let me say to your point, you asked about how our behavior should change. yes, our behavior should change. I'm advocating for no handshaking. I'm not shaking any hands right now. I'm fist bumping. I'm elbow bumping. I'm throwing up the peace sign. I'm doing whatever, but I'm not shaking hands. And I'll be honest with you, things like large gatherings and stuff, it's important to avoid those, especially older individuals who have a higher risk of developing complications. I'm actually even urging preachers to, during the passing of the peacetime at church, don't encourage handshaking. This is my personal stance, and I really believe it's important. We can throw up the peace sign in church. We can say, hey, man, hey, how you doing? We don't have to shake hands. These things are really important during this time. Absolutely.
All right. Are we supposed to be wearing masks?
No, absolutely not. So people, and you'll see them. I mean, I'm still flying these days, Roland. I know you have a crazy schedule.
Oh, hell yeah,
I know you see people with masks.
I'm a fly. I ain't stopping.
Right. No, I know.
I ain't turning down checks.
I know. But this is the thing. Masks are not indicated. We see the surgical masks. Those are the ones that go around our face, that loop around here. And then the N95 respirators, those are the ones that are more form-fitting, that have to be fit to your face. By the way, both of those are not indicated for the general population who is healthy. In fact, when we buy masks, we go and buy them on Amazon and stuff like that. We're really just keeping them from people who need them. Okay. The people who need them are healthcare workers, number one. Number two, people who are already sick right now, either with coronavirus or with something else that they're trying to keep from giving other people. These are the only populations right now in this country that need to be wearing masks. So people leave the masks alone. They're not going to help if you're healthy.
All right, they keep saying wash your hands. How many damn times? What? Every 2 hours, every 3 hours, every 4 hours? What's the deal?
Okay, washing hands is so important. And I know it sounds almost like common sense. It really should be, but there are a lot of people actually who do not wash their hands regularly. We should be washing our hands before we eat, after we eat, when we prepare food for other people, after using the restroom, when we're taking care of other folks. We should be washing our hands, honestly, throughout the day. You touch doorknobs and elevator buttons and all sorts of stuff. You shouldn't then go get lunch and start eating. You need to wash your hands, okay?
Okay, so
we need to make sure that we're using...
But I'm trying to figure out how often.
Yeah.
So...
There's no number. Look, there's no magic number.
Yeah, but damn, it's
different. Everybody does different things.
Yeah, but damn, it's 24 hours in a day. I'm just saying, what am I supposed to be doing? So like how often am I washing hands? If I touch any door, go wash hands?
No. So I'm going to mention the things I just said because it's really important. Before we eat, after we eat, if we're preparing food for other people, after going to the bathroom. If you've been touching a lot of things, you've been out and about, you come home, wash your hands. There is no magic number. I can't say, Roland, we have to wash our hands 20 times a day. That's going to be different for everybody, depending on what you've been in contact with, what you've been exposed to.
All right, hand sanitizer. Does it actually work? I keep seeing alcohol content needs to be above 60%. How often should we be using hand sanitizer?
Yeah, hand sanitizer.
And does hand sanitizer replace washing hands?
Okay, so we want you to wash your hands first. Washing hands is actually the priority. It's the most important way to get our hands clean. But if you don't have access to soap and water, and by the way, you should be washing your hands 20 seconds with soap and water, scrubbing. 20 seconds is how long it takes to sing the happy birthday song twice. I gotta stop you.
You said scrubbing. So should we be carrying around a little brush? And are we just sitting here just washing?
Just sitting here washing, as you say.
All right.
But with the soap on our hands, you get between the fingers, you get underneath the nail. You make sure you keep that soap on there long enough for 20 seconds. That's singing the happy birthday song twice, back to back. That's about 20 seconds, then rinse. But back to your question.
Dan, does Stevie Wonder happy birthday song?
Say that again?
Dan, does Stevie Wonder happy birthday song? That take longer.
Well, you're going to have to do an abridged version that lasts about 20 seconds. How about that? Okay?
All right.
Hand sanitizer. Roland, let me answer this real quickly before we jump off. Hand sanitizer is good if you don't have access to soap and water. But remember, if your hands have grease or oil or dirt on them, hand sanitizer will not work. You need soap and water. But you need a hand sanitizer that has at least 60% alcohol content, like you mentioned. But the higher, the better. And remember, I just noticed this. My hand sanitizers, they actually have expiration dates on them. So check the expiration dates and don't be using old crusty hand sanitizer.
All right, last question. I can't deal with ash. So if I wash my hands and I use hand sanitizer, can a brother put on some lotion?
Yes, you can put on lotion.
I'm just checking.
It's okay. And by the way, different hand sanitizers are made differently in terms of the alcohol content and the other ingredients. So if you shop around, you might find one that doesn't make you too ashy.
All right. Dr. Jen Collowitz, really appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
All right, folks, we're going to go to a break. When we come back, we're going to talk to Deborah Owens about coronavirus and how it's impacting the stock market, your 401k, and should you be taking advantage of this when it comes to buying stocks? That's next right here on Roland Martin Unfiltered. Want to check out Roland Martin Unfiltered? YouTube.com/Roland S. Martin. And subscribe to our YouTube channel. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real. It's Roland Martin Unfiltered. See that name right there? Roland Martin Unfiltered. Like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. That's youtube.com/Roland S. Martin. And don't forget to turn on your notifications so when we go live, you'll know it. All right, so a lot of y'all are always asking me about some of the pocket squares that I wear. Now, Robert don't have one on. Now, I don't particularly like the white pocket squares. I don't like even the silk ones. And so I was reading GQ magazine a number of years ago, and I saw this guy who had this pocket square here, and it looks like a flower. This is called a shibori pocket square. This is how the Japanese manipulate the fabric to create this sort of flower effect. So I'm going to take it out and then place it in my hand so you see what it looks like. And I said, man, this is pretty cool. And so I tracked down, it took me a year to find a company that did it. And so they basically about 47 different colors. And so I love them because, again, as men, we don't have many accessories to wear, so we don't have many options. And so this is really a pretty cool pocket square. Now, what I love about this here is you saw when it's in the pocket, it gives you that flower effect like that. But if I wanted to also, because if I flip it and turn it over, it actually gives me a different type of texture. And so therefore it gives me a different look. So there you go. So if you actually want to get one of these shibori pocket squares, we have them in 47 different colors. All you got to do is go to RolandSMartin.com/pocket squares. So it's RolandSMartin.com/pocket squares. All you got to do is go to my website, and you can actually get this. Now, for those of you who are members of our Bring the Funk fan club, there's a discount for you to get our pocket squares. That's why you also got to be a part of our Bring the Funk fan club. And so that's what we want you to do. And so it's pretty cool. So if you want to jazz your look up, you can do that. In addition, y'all see me with some of the feather pocket squares. My sister, who's a designer, she actually makes these. They're all custom made. So when you also go to the website, you can also order one of the customized feather pocket squares right there at RolandSMartin.com/pocket squares. So please do so. And of course, it goes to support the show. And again, if you're a Bring the Funk fan club member, you get a discount. This is why you should join the fan club. As I said, folks, South by Southwest, the major show in Austin, Texas, has been canceled as a result of the coronavirus. The travel industry could be impacted by more than $100 billion. Conferences and cruises and all kinds of events all across the world are being canceled. The stock market, my Lord, down 4,000 points, wiping out the last 2 years. So what the hell do we do? Do we freak out or do we sit tight and take advantage of the crisis? Joining us right now is Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach. Deborah, how you doing?
I'm doing great.
All right, so 4,000 points gone. Last 2 years, Donald Trump is freaking the hell out because he wanted to run on the economy. He first told us, this coronavirus is no big deal. Y'all just go to work. Now he couldn't go to the CDC in Atlanta because somebody there had the coronavirus. So this thing is real, and actually it is spreading in the United States.
It's spreading, but what I say, Roland, is let's not panic. The truth is that
when folks can die from something, panic gonna happen.
Well, panic will happen, but the truth is that we've had all kinds of things happen in this country, and we've had the market be volatile. At the end of the day, what people need to understand is that the market was pretty much due for a correction. And so while everybody I talk to, oh yes, I'm an aggressive investor. Well, are you? Because this is what you should anticipate if you have, let's say, 70% of your money in stocks. You should be prepared to see that investment go down by 60% in 1 year. Historically, that's what happens. However, I said, and even with the balanced portfolio, where you only have 50% in stocks or 50% in bonds, you should be ready to see your investment value go down by, in some cases, 30% in 1 year. The issue becomes that I just said go down. I said decline. you haven't lost anything until you sell. And what really disheartens me sometimes in our community, because many of us are investing in our 401ks, and we are basically choosing target funds or whatever the allocation is based on our age, we have no clue about what's in our investments or how to review them. So I like to give people strategies, and those strategies right now, just like you have the 3 R's in education, you have the 4 R's in financial education.
All right, what are those 4 R's?
This is what people need to be doing. The first thing they need to do is reassess. And when I say reassess, you thought you were an aggressive investor, or you thought you were okay with your money going down. Are you? Probably not. So the fact is that your money has probably appreciated, and you have more in stocks than you started out with when you started, right? So let's just say you were 3 years ago, your portfolio went up significantly, and so now you're sort of out of balance. Now you need to really look at, okay, how much should I have in stocks,
right,
and how much should I have in bonds? The second thing I want to say is review what you have. So many people are on autopilot. They don't even know what they have in their portfolio.
So if I got a mutual fund, I need to review what's in it?
Yes, you need to review what's in it.
Okay.
One of the easiest way to do that, Roland, is to go to Morningstar.com, which ranks mutual funds. And what they do is they rank mutual funds from 1 to 5 stars. It might so happen that your funds were doing well at one time, but they're not. So you want to make sure your funds are at 4 stars or more.
What's the website? Morningstar?
Morningstar.com.
All right.
The next thing you want to do is you want to research. And so you're going to research at Morningstar.com, and you're going to look at how your investments perform in up and down markets. And you're going to, because they have what's called a beta, and it'll tell you, I'm not going to get too technical, but it basically tells you about volatility. And so if this makes you uncomfortable, now's the time to look at some funds perhaps that aren't volatile. And then last but not least, the last thing that folks need to do is reassess. Okay, so I just gave you 3 other R's. Now you're going to look at rebalance your portfolio. Okay, so how much should you have in stocks? How much should you have in bonds? How much should you have in cash? For most people, their money's in their 401k. It's retirement money. You should still be somewhat you should still be in growth mode. And in fact, what I would encourage folks to do is now's the time perhaps to, if you do invest in individual stocks, to take a look at what are some of those companies who have fallen, okay, just based on panic. And yet what makes the stock's price go up are their earnings, their future growth, and all of that. So I look at this in many cases as an opportunity for folks, hey, stocks are on sale.
So, okay, so
you run out to the store when things are on sale, but I do say proceed with caution and do your homework.
So I'm trying to, okay, so you said you go to Morningstar to figure out how your fund is doing.
Right.
So where, here we go to my iPad.
So you go to Morningstar.com.
Right.
Right, and so name one of your funds.
Ariel.
So which fund? So if you put Ariel.
We're in the search box.
Yeah, right in the search box. It's going to come up with 5 letters. All mutual funds have 5 letters in their ticker symbol.
Right.
Okay. And so if you put that fund in, name in, it'll come up with a ticker, and it'll take you to a portfolio review page.
Right.
And right up at the top, what you're going to see is how your fund,
so this Ariel fund, I don't know which one it is. I got you when I get home. So this Ariel fund investor has 2 stars.
Okay, yeah.
That sucks? Is that great?
2 out of 5.
That ain't halfway point.
It is what it is. But here's what they're driving, what's driving those stars, okay? What it's driving those stars are, what type of fund is it, and is that fund performing at least as well as its index? Meaning, if it's a large cap fund that has the S&P 500 stocks in it, is your fund performing at least with that benchmark? It needs to overperform it, though, because if that's the case, you might as well be at an index fund. The other thing it looks at is in its category. How is that fund performing versus other funds just like it? How is it ranked?
All right, so if I got a fund and it's sitting around at 1 or 2 stars,
You need
You got more money?
You need to, yeah, you need to rebalance. Yeah, you need to.
Okay, when you say rebalance, it means move your money somewhere else.
Your money, right. So you need to look at where are the other opportunities, where are the funds that have consistently performed
right.
and have a 4 or 5 star ranking. That's one of the first things you should do in your portfolio.
So shouldn't your financial advisor also be giving you that advice?
Absolutely. That's what you pay him for.
Or her.
Or her. But what I would say is that
mine is here right now.
So why you gonna put me on Front Street like that, Roland?
Toy Salter, you ain't sent me a damn email or phone call. You ain't done shit. Not a damn thing. Toy Salter. T-O-I-S-A-L-T-E-R.
Why does he
You have not given me any advice. Toy, when the show is over, you are going to do your damn job.
That's your pick.
No, your job is to advise.
That's not my job.
Hey, y'all, that is your job. That is your job now.
Oh my!
Yes, y'all, she's black.
So is that why you invited me on the show?
No, we need to have this conversation. The people out there don't know. Y'all got any questions? Y'all got questions?
No, I
Santiago, you got questions?
No, I'm good.
Y'all good?
I'm good.
Have y'all rebalanced? Hell no. Hell no.
I bought.
Huh?
I bought.
You bought?
I bought, yes.
Okay,
When?
That's good.
Thursday, Wednesday.
Because like if
You know, one last
Because
thing.
here on
though.
Morningstar, Deborah, I'm looking on here. These health stocks, one was up 48%, another was up 12%. Oil went down 10%. They're going to cut production because of demand. But General Electric down 6.5%. Bank of America down 4%. But again, there's one health stock up 12.62. One is up 43.78.
Yes, but okay,
What does
let's
that
talk
mean?
about that. That is short-term volatility,
Got it.
right? And so that's demand. People saying, "Oh, where's the opportunity? Healthcare? Who's going to come up with the cure or the vaccine
Right.
for coronavirus?" At the end of the day, what people need to do is most people are in mutual funds. If they follow those 4 steps that we just talked about
Right.
this evening, they'll be fine in the
All
long
right.
run.
Sounds good. Where can people get more information, Deborah?
They can go to my website, DeborahOwens.com. And by the way, if they want to get a free CD on investing in volatile times that goes over these principles, they just go to DeborahOwens.com, uncertain times.
All right. Deborah, sounds good. Certainly appreciate it. Toy, you got some work to do. Going to a break. We'll be back on Roland Martin Unfiltered in a moment. You want to check out Roland Martin Unfiltered? YouTube.com/Roland S. Martin. And subscribe to our YouTube channel. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real. It's Roland Martin Unfiltered. See that name right there? Roland Martin Unfiltered. Like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. That's YouTube.com/Roland S. Martin. And don't forget to turn on your notifications so when we go live, you'll know it. All right, y'all, you're looking to enhance your leadership or that of your team in 2020. We'll join Reverend Dr. Jackie Hood Martin's newest online course and mastermind group, How Successful People Think. Should be your guide as you learn timeless leadership principles to apply to daily living. To register, go to livetolead.com/Leesburg. The website is, where the website, y'all? It's supposed to be right here. www.livetolead.com/Leesburg. All right, y'all. So we talked about coronavirus. That fool out of Florida, Matt Gaetz, do y'all realize this fool actually sat on the floor of Congress with a gas mask on while he voted on a bill that would dedicate billions, $8.3 billion to combating coronavirus. Now, he later wore the mask again onto the House floor. Congressman Bobby Rush compared to the time he wore a hoodie in the aftermath of the death of Trayvon Martin to make a statement about racial profiling, but he was forcibly removed from the floor. What does it say when the brother with the hoodie forcibly removed and this dumbass with a gas mask allowed to sit there like it's no big deal?
What did my brother say earlier on the show? It's something being privileged and white, right? And I think we're seeing it in the House of Representatives, right? It's the same thing playing out even within the very halls of power, that you have a black man who gets up there and legitimately gives a speech on the floor to symbolize the tragedy of what happened to Trayvon Martin. But then you have this younger white member of Congress
who's a nut,
is a nut, crazy conservative, ridiculously wears a gas mask. and is not removed. Now, objectively, I could say, well, the difference is Congressman Rush was actually given a speech on the floor, and Representative, what's his name, Matt Gaetz was
Yeah, but remember, if you're a woman, you can't even wear hats on the floor.
Right.
Patricia Wilson, who normally wears these cowboy hats, can't wear
Alma
hats
Adams,
on the floor.
same thing.
Alma Adams, yes.
Right. So, but we know that's not the case, right? It fundamentally boils down, yet once again, to race and privilege.
Yeah. And then also, aren't we supposed to not be afraid right now, right? Aren't we supposed to not be panicking? Yet this is coming from the floor, right? And so we're supposed to be out here in the public being calmly told that this is not going to turn into a thing, yet you have someone ostensibly in one of the safest places they can be wearing a full gas mask. So, I mean, I think this is, par for the course when we're talking about Congress, when we're talking about how they treat black members, how they treat other members. I mean, this is, not surprising, but I think nonetheless upsetting because, when white people go full white people on you, it's hard to not take notice. And I think this is yet one more example, right? We can add this up there with the Chuck Schumer and the Hilary Rosen of the day.
I mean, for Congressman Rush, it wasn't theater. It was the reality of what was going on in the streets, in our relationship with those who have guns, primarily the policemen. But for the gentleman, and I use that word lightly, from Florida, this is theater. And this is a time when he should actually be getting focused on the vulnerable communities that are actually inside of his district, who are inside of Florida, who will be the ones who will be disproportionately impacted from the virus. And he should be dedicating resources to make sure that they are being supported and that the foundation is actually underneath of them. And that's the conversation that we should be having.
Yeah, but remember, we did say Congressman dumbass Matt Gaetz.
We did.
Just saying.
We did.
All right, y'all, the Sanders campaign has dropped this new ad featuring Dr. Cornel West imploring folks to vote for him. Check it out. We'll talk about it.
We're living at a moment where the very future of democracy is at stake. So this is no ordinary campaign. This is a movement that has a spiritual and moral coming together. Strong coming together. It's part of the genius of Hebrew scripture. I don't care if you're Muslim. I don't care if you're Christian. I don't care if you're Jewish. I don't care if you're Buddhist, Hindu. It says the spreading of Hesed, the spreading of that steadfast love to the orphan, the widow, the fatherless, the motherless, the oppressed, the occupied, the dominated. It's rooted in the best of America, but it looks to the world and it says a precious baby in Ethiopia, in Guatemala. It could be in Tel Aviv or Gaza. It could be in Argentina. It could be in New Hampshire. They all have the same value. They all have the same significance. That's a moral and a spiritual dimension. And I thank God my dear brother Bernie Sanders has got the integrity, the courage, the vision to bring us together and say, not a milquetoast neoliberal running against the gangster. We got to have moral and spiritual power behind our movement. Are we going to stay together? Are we going to fight together? Are we going to go all the way together behind Bernie Sanders? Let's do it. Stay strong.
All right, Niambe.
I mean, look, I guess it's fine. I don't know who it's supposed to be for. I don't know that it's going to bring in older black voters into the fold. And I actually think it's an interesting week for Bernie Sanders because he put out that Obama ad on Monday, which had Wednesday, I think it was, had a very different feel to it than this particular ad. And given that Cornel West was one of Barack Obama's chief critics at a time, I think it's a really interesting contrast in ads. And I'm not certain what Bernie Sanders' black strategy is at this point. Are you trying to put yourself next to the most establishment black Democrat that you could find, Barack Obama, also one of the most beloved, and then you pick Cornel West at the end of the week? I'm not certain what this is going to mean as a communication strategy. I don't know what it does. I don't know who new it brings into the fold. I don't know that Cornel West has enough of that to pull older black voters.
Quadrico.
I'm in agreement. I think Bernie Sanders said on MSNBC with Rachel Maddow that he very well is in so many words, he's not necessarily going after the black vote because he necessarily can't compete with James Clyburn and Clinton, and the fact that the fact that Joe Biden was Obama's VP. So to your point, I think while Cornel West is the focal point, I think this ad continues to appeal to his same supporters. Yeah. And that is, activist, progressive whites, certainly, and there are activists and progressive blacks and Latinos and Asians. And so when I look at that ad, while it's great in some ways, it certainly doesn't get to the demographic of black folk that he's trying to attract.
Santiago, he dropped this ad, but he also canceled his speech in Mississippi with the mayor of Jackson, Mississippi, Chokwe Lumumba, to go campaign in Michigan.
I mean, and that says a lot. I mean, we know where a lot of black folks is at. So black folks is in Mississippi. Black folks vote in Mississippi. We've said about every candidate during this season that you got to show up. You got to be there if you want people's vote. I have a huge amount of respect for Professor West. I appreciate him sharing all these various things that are going on in our country and across the planet. But I'm not sure if this ad helps to expand the base. And I literally, when I saw it, I was just like this.
All right. We'll see. We'll see. In Chicago, 2 cops responsible for shooting 33-year-old Ario Roman have had their police powers stripped. Last Friday, Roman was stopped by officers for crossing cars on a train, which is a violation of a city ordinance. The officers chased Roman to the platform of the Grand Red Line station. They wrestled him to the ground, tased him, pepper sprayed him before shooting him twice. Be warned, folks, this video can be triggering to a lot of you. So here we go.
Give me your hand.
I didn't scream faster.
I didn't do nothing to you. Don't see Wi-Fi, man. I didn't do nothing to you.
7 3 faster.
I didn't do nothing to you.
7 3 faster.
I don't want to punch you. I don't want to
7 3 faster.
Shoot him. No. Shoot him. No. Stop resisting. Please. Mason. Please, don't put me. Okay. Give me your hand. Give me your hand. Stop trying. Okay.
7 3 faster.
Stop! Stop resisting! Stop resisting! Stop resisting! Stop resisting! Stop! Stop resisting! Stop resisting! Stop!
Stop resisting.
Stop! Stop resisting! Shoot him! No!
Sir, put your fucking hands down. Put your fucking give him your hand. Give him your hand. Give him your hand.
Get out! Get out!
Luckily, the shooting wasn't fatal, and Roman is currently hospitalized in stable condition following surgery. Y'all, bullshit city ordinance?
I mean, this has shades of Oscar Grant all over it. That's all I could think about. And, it just shows you how little the police have actually learned in all of this. It doesn't matter how many protests, how many people they kill, how many people they maim, injure, how many people they traumatize. I'm certain those people in that station were scared, right? They have learned nothing about de-escalation. The only option that they have is to escalate the situation. This could have been a ticket. Instead, you followed this man for what?
Or you could let his ass get away.
Exactly. For what, right? This wasn't a danger. By all accounts, this man was more of a danger to himself than anybody else. And yet, you take this step of stepping on and then saying, why are you resisting? You're hurting me. What am I supposed to do? Let you kill me? And, I mean, thank goodness he's not dead right now.
If you mace somebody, they're going to resist. They're going to move. They're going to try and get their hands to their eyes to clear out what's going on. And, you know, there are police departments that have rules on the books about, you know, releasing their firing a gun.
Rules?
You know, well, I know it don't happen that often, but, you know, there are rules that they are supposed to not be firing, you know, in these types of situations. Yeah.
Right.
I mean, our policing system right now is not focused on de-escalation, unfortunately. It should be. You know, they allow these things to grow and grow and grow, and they put more people's lives in danger.
All right, folks.
Resistance is like equivalent to murdering their own.
Yep, that's what it is. All right, folks, got to go to a break. When we come back, American Worker segment sponsored by Ask Me. Back in a moment.
Everywhere you look, working people are drawing on deep reserves of strength. And every day, they fight for all working people to get a fair shake, a voice on the job, a seat at the table. Working in public service isn't just a job, it's a calling. The corporate CEOs and the wealthy special interests are coming after us, but we are no strangers to adversity. We know how to take a punch, and we don't expect anything to come easy. We will fight back together. We will defend our rights and freedoms together. We will build power in numbers together. We are fearless. We are fierce. We never quit. We are AFSCME.
Nice. All right, y'all. We want to thank AFSCME for being a sponsor of our show. Their support has been critical for us being able to launch this show, and we certainly thank them a lot. All right, y'all, I got to go. I want to thank our panel for being here. Also, don't forget, we would love for you to support what we do by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Join our Bring the Funk fan club. Every dollar you give goes to support this show. Of course, this Tuesday, we debuted our new set. And so, of course, I want to shout out my man Leroy Campbell for the artwork. Multiple generations of African Americans voting. And so that's how we do it. 'Cause, y'all ain't going to see this on MSNBC. See this set? Now go to the wide shot. See, this set way too black. You would never see this on CNN. You damn sure ain't gonna see it on Fox News. But see, this is why we do what we do, because we ain't had to ask nobody's damn opinion on whether or not we want to use artwork from black artists on our set. That's why we do the show here, black owned, black controlled, and we ain't got to ask anybody else a damn thing. That's why we do what we do. Frankly, that's why we're here. What the hell we wear? When the last time you saw a black man with a Kangol hat and leather jacket? With his hair like that. Give me a shot of Quadrico. You ain't seen no black man on CNN and Fox News with a hair like that.
MSNBC with my hair like that.
Yeah, but they ain't call you back. Solo shot, Quadrico. That's absolutely. Dr. Carter, she trying to be all normal. Trying to be but she got the mohawk look though with on the side and everything.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, so this is a really black show. That's why we do what we do. So go to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com, join our Bring the Funk fan club. We want to thank Congresswoman Maxine Waters for calling. And see, let me tell you how black that is. She called us 20 minutes before the show. She said, Roland, I want to come on. I said, Congresswoman, I ain't got to ask nobody. Why? Because I own this shit. And that's why we do what we do. So, we always end the show every Friday running the list of people who have given to our show, who are our donors. If you do not see your name, send us an email. We'll cross-check if your credit card cleared. Some of y'all know what I'm talking about. All right, see you guys. Don't forget, we've been live streaming the Black Women's Roundtable Conference here in Washington, D.C. for the last 2 days. It's going to be happening this weekend as well. So go to our Facebook page, YouTube, and Periscope as well. To check out all of our coverage. If you missed the earlier plenary sessions, go to the YouTube channel, take a look at it. Don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel and click, please, live notifications. So when we go live, you know exactly what happens. Y'all know how I end the show. I gotta go. Ho! You want to check out Roland Martin Unfiltered? YouTube.com/Roland S. Martin. And subscribe to our YouTube channel. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real. It's Roland Martin Unfiltered. See that name right there? Roland Martin Unfiltered. Like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. That's YouTube.com/Roland S. Martin. And don't forget to turn on your notifications so when we go live, you'll know it. You want to support Roland Martin Unfiltered? Be sure to join our Bring the Funk fan club. Every dollar that you give to us supports our daily digital show. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real. It's Roland Martin Unfiltered. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered daily digital show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Our goal is to get 20,000 of our fans contributing $50 each for the whole year. You can make this possible. RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Hey fam, want to check out Roland Martin Unfiltered? The blackest show on all of digital, cable, and broadcast. Check out our audio podcast. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real. It's Roland Martin Unfiltered. Press play.
Hey everybody, this is Sherry Shepherd. You're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered, and while he's doing Unfiltered, I'm practicing the wobble. Yes, I am. Because Roland Martin's the one, he will do it backwards, he will do it on the side. He messes everybody up when he gets into the wobble, because he doesn't know how to do it, so he does it backwards. And it messes me up every single time. So I'm working on it. I got it. You got Roland Martin.
Hi, my name is LaToya Luckett, and you're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered.
What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Mac Wiles, and you are watching Roland Martin Unfiltered.
What's up, y'all? It's Ryan Destiny, and you're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered.
What up, Lana Well, and you are watching Roland Martin